Hey, how's it going, guys? We're on our second question and answers, and I have two questions again. They're both interrelate, so let's get cracking straight away with it. Let's see if we can keep this video a little bit shorter. So I have a question from John. How often do you and your students train, and how often would you advise someone starting out? All right, John. Thank you very much for sending in the question. So, at the moment, because our timetable and things have changed within my club, we actually only get together as a group once a week. So it's not great the way it is at the moment. To be honest with you, we're just getting together on a Saturday and we're doing some training. We get together and do some kung fu, and actually this Saturday is our first day where we're going to start doing some catch wrestling again. Then I don't do like public or like more commercial martial arts classes anymore. My gym that I run is predominantly strength and conditioning and health and fitness classes. So I have a few kind of one-to-one students that we train that way, as opposed to kind of big group classes. So that's how I run things. So we get together as a group once a week at the moment, and hopefully as my class timetable gets a bit better, it's thrown off through COVID-19, we'll be getting together more often. How often do I train personally? I try to train 6 days a week, at least 3 times a day. The schedule that I like to try to keep is the mornings I go over to the MMA local gym with the guys there, and we have kind of like their fighters session in the morning, and I do that. So learn loads there, train with the lads, get my ass whipped, so loads of fun, train with them. So we do like wrestling, grappling, obviously jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So the guys that compete and stuff train in that session. Then I train by myself, try to get some form of strength or conditioning in, depending on where I am in my training phase, whether I'm doing max strength, in fact, I'm at strength endurance at the moment. So that's barbells. I actually do throw some Olympic weightlifting in during the week, and some kettlebells, depending on what my program is. So some form of strength training. And then I have my traditional martial arts training. So at the moment, I'm currently going through where I have a few fist forms and some of the weapons, and I have my conditioning iron palm. I may do some of my 𝐐𝐿𝐭𝐢 involved in it as well, or my 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿, my basics. They're always involved in my training. And in the evening times, I do often like to, before I go to bed, do some 𝐐𝐿𝐿 or yoga. That's my kind of my perfect training week. I take a Sunday off, but for instance this week it didn't work out that way. I got a bit of a skin infection from grappling, so I've had to take off grappling for the week. In fact, this morning was the first day that I got rounds in and stuff. So look, you have to be flexible with these things. I try to keep a training program or a training routine like a pro fighter would, but it doesn't always work out that way. So 3 to 4 sessions, 6 days a week if I'm doing well. But of course, I'm 40 years of age now, and I have to be careful of overtraining, which is often the case for people that are this way inclined, like combat fighting. I'm not tired. No, can you keep going? Yep, I can keep going. We have to understand when to rest and the rest and recovery stage. So that's how I train. Do I tell my students to train that way? No, because predominantly most of them are not looking to be that type of combat athlete. I'm aware that I'm not going to go and be a world champion at things, but I still want to compete in certain things, particularly wrestling and grappling at the moment. So my intensity of training needs to be up. So some of the lads, I try to tell them 3 times a week at least to be training. If you're a new beginner and you want to just get kind of healthy and fit, 3 times a week is good. If you want to be very efficient and effective at your art, you're going to have to train more. Like your man said, train once a day, but if you train more, do no harm. So try train a little bit more if you want. It depends what you want out of it. For a beginner, I would really say you need to be training 3 times a week. That's like 3 times a week at a martial art is the lowest dedication you're going to really put in. You're doing an hour and a half 3 times a week. You're going to get the mediocre skills. If those sessions are always full of sparring and fighting, you're gonna start to pick up some skill. If you're not sparring and stuff 3 times a week, at least you're going to struggle to be combat effective. That would be my opinion. But again, not everyone wants that. Maybe you just want to go through, move your body, feel healthy, feel loose. So I think how much you train depends on numerous factors: your age, your work and home life, how much energy, are you a robust individual or are you a sick individual? Do you have injuries? They're quite an individual thing. So to begin with, probably my best advice is not to take on too much. Start off with small, 3 times a week. If your body can handle it, keep it going for a while, then maybe start to increase if you can with your training. So Raphael, how did your Kung Fu training help in doing grappling? Thanks, Raphael, for asking. So the short answer is it didn't help at all in the sense of technique wise and stuff. The world of grappling and wrestling is unique to itself, and it's different. You have to learn the stuff, you don't just suddenly figure out, you don't just accidentally throw on an arm bar, you don't just accidentally throw on a double wrist lock or Kimura. You need to learn the techniques. You don't just accidentally know how to get out of them. You might have a feel for movement, but against a skilled opponent, you're either going to know the defenses or not. So how did it help in that regards? It didn't really. The stand-up obviously helped because I had initially learnt, when I started with wrestling, I was lucky enough to learn within Snake Pit with Roy Wood, the world's authority at the moment in catch wrestling. So my fundamentals gave me a good fundamental base. Having done Kung Fu training, it did allow me to reference points from standing. You can you see an arm, you see an arm and under, you see some of the positions. They might be new, but you pick them up quickly because you're like, okay, my visual learning, my audio, my kinetic awareness is there, even though the positions are different. You still have to train it like a beginner, but you can kind of intellectually understand it quicker. And obviously you can, if you're Kung Fu training is to the level where you're understanding principles and not just techniques, then you're going to pick the stuff up quicker. So I was able to intellectually understand the stuff quicker and therefore set about training it effectively. Doesn't mean I got it right straight away, but I understood how to train it because of that. The ground stuff was quite confusing to begin with. I'd done seminars and done ground stuff, but not to the level of like when learning catch wrestling. Then of course like jiu-jitsu and stuff, you'd be lost, when guys are spinning over and doing Kiss of the Dragon or something. You don't, bloody hell, whose legs whose here. That was quite difficult, and that's taken quite a while to get my head around that. But the certain principles of song, relaxing, being heavy, particularly being heavy on a person, because of the arts that I practiced, that was easier to get a feel for. So I think it helped in the sense of how to learn, and how to get my head around how to train it. So learning how to learn. But did your, the fact is, particularly, if you've done, doesn't matter your level of Kung Fu, if you're gonna go up against grappling, if you don't know grappling, and you're gonna get your ass whipped. It's just the way it is. Like my coach said, you need to learn how to lose. So you didn't go in and suddenly, the Kung Fu training helped with reference points. I understood certain things, I've always liked throwing and locking, but it's different doing those things against someone who is not a specialist in those arts. So throwing an individual who's a stand-up fighter that doesn't know how to counter and resist throws is very different from throwing a wrestler. Taking down a wrestler is very different. Taking down somebody who does jiu-jitsu, it might be easier, but then you're suddenly pulled into a world where they willingly went down because they're just going to destroy you on the ground. So you think you've thrown them and they drag you down, and then suddenly you're being leg triangled or something. So it's a different world. I think that's the thing is where the Kung Fu training it allowed reference points, but it's a whole different world going into with guys that are professional at or skilled at that type of techniques you're learning. Yeah, you just have to have the beginner mindset, which I think is the importance. For me, it was very easy. I like to be a beginner. I've always liked to. I've never been one that's just this art. I think you're very stuck in one way, and you're going to struggle then when you have to cross train. And if I want to learn how to defend a throw, I would rather be thrown against someone who's skilled at throwing, not have you say to one of your students, okay, let's practice takedowns. They don't even know how to do takedowns, so of course you're going to defend it. Learn to take down. Learn to defend a double leg against a skilled wrestler. It's like it's a whole different world. So it didn't help and it did help, if that makes sense. The techniques did not really relay over at all. But as time has gone on, I have now, I can see a lot more of the martial arts movements that are in traditional Kung Fu, but with a lot more of a practical eye set now, or a mindset now, because of getting used to people. Like, it's one, as I say, it's one thing doing an arm bar on someone who doesn't know how to defend them, or is not a grappler, or just a very skilled person, but getting an arm bar on a wrestler when he keeps his elbows, it ain't gonna happen. Understanding the techniques has brought. I knew the starting point already, and then the wrestling and the grappling, I feel has my understanding has now jumped up. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. I have got other questions that I've written down. I'm just kind of waiting get a few questions that are a bit similar, so I can keep to kind of one theme. So today seemed to be about training. So guys, thank you very much. I hope that was interesting, and I look forward to the next few questions. Thank you, guys.